Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Moving the Magnets, where we discuss and have a look through the potential matchups going into the live team selections, which are set to be released at 6:20. We start this at 5:45 every Thursday, or typically the day before of the game. However, I think we've got a little bit of a sneak peek into what we should be expecting for the upcoming game against Sydney, because old mate Twitter, or X, has come through once again. And I'm looking at it here from a tweet from, where is he? Josh Gabelick. And he says, bear with me, Ed Allen back for Collingwood tomorrow night. Lockie Sullivan has also been recalled to face Sydney. Charlie West also to be named emergency for the first time, closing in on a debut. So that is, of course, massive news for positive news for Lockie Sullivan. Great to see that Ed Allen is back in the thick of things, and Charlie West just inching a little bit closer to a starting opportunity for the Collingwood Football Club after his stellar performance in the VFL, kicking 5 goals, taking a bunch of contested marks. Looks like he's ready to go. Some of you are dubbing him a mini Jonathan Brown. So I believe that's to do with the fact that he's just a little bit younger at this point, but he's doing very well. Unfortunately, we won't see any VFL action this week. There is the VFL state level game between the VFL and Sandful. So two of the strongest state league competitions in Australia, which I think some of us might have a little eye on because of the potential mid-season draftees that we could pick up. So a lot of things to sort of keep an eye on as the weekend goes on. It's really exciting, to be fair. And Lockie Sullivan was probably the most consistent performer in that game against Coburg, and he's going to come into the side. The question might be who starts and who is the sub. Between, say, an Ed Allen and a Lockie Sullivan, you're probably going to think it's an Ed Allen who is a sub. Ned Long gets the start, and Lockie Sullivan, I think, starts as that pseudo high half forward role that Lockie Schultz has dominated in this year. Lockie Sullivan will get a chance there. And really, he didn't do much wrong to be dropped after that Port Adelaide game. It's just we're in a situation right now with the team and the availability to have the luxury to drop someone like Lockie Sullivan after having a pretty reasonable performance against Port Adelaide. So there is still one more spot to be claimed. We all are thinking it might be a Will Hoskin Elliot in place of Dan Houston. However, there are players like Oleg Markov, Jacob Bryan, TJ, who all think they may have a fair shot at taking up this chance going into the game against Sydney. Jack, how you doing? Persiduses, can't wait to see the team lineup soon. Yeah, it'll be intriguing to see how Sydney match up as well. Melissa, I'm doing well. How are you? I think we're all looking forward to the lineup, and it just means we're getting closer and closer to Friday night. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to the Friday after my Thursday night experience against Carlton. I don't know. I feel like a massive blockbuster clash like that in the future should be on a Friday night. I was really keen for it, but the energy of the game felt unusual. Manny says, I think we should extend West's contract by a couple of years because other clubs are going to come hard if they see him improving. True. I think, to be honest, I think within the next month or two, we'll slap on an extra 2 years for Charlie West for his early work. You could have probably even given him an extension in the preseason. He was training that well. Jams, Kynan, how you going? The meme man. I saw your memes. Good man. I appreciate it. I suppose that's where we're at with selection. I've got an article from the Herald Sun about Jamie Elliot and how close he was to retiring in the midst of that foot issue he had mid-season last year after he was performing very well in that first half of the year. He came back a bit slow and never really found his feet. But yeah, there's a real story behind that, and we'll get into that in a moment. Let's see. What are we saying in the chat? Steve-O says, when was the last time we lost at Adelaide Oval? I'm not too sure, Steve-O. Can somebody do some research there? Find that out for us. Jack, is on a train to Adelaide versus Geelong, then going to Pies tomorrow. Jealous, mate. I was relatively keen on potentially getting into or going to gather round. However, that is not to be, and we'll be watching from home. And I'm pretty almost all but certain that we will do a watch along. So I saw Mason Cox on the flight as well, Mark. So look, I don't think whether Mason Cox is an emergency or not, or whether he gets selected or not, I'm not too sure about that. However, at the very least, I think the whole squad will be travelling with each other just simply due to the fact that they go from Adelaide to Brisbane, so it's a bit of a getaway trip for the lads, isn't it? Would like to see the leg man get another go. Markov is a premiership player in form, says Troy. I think Markov, based on the preseason, based on his VFL form and practice matches, he's probably as close to that premiership form that we can possibly get him to right now without him being in an AFL squad. So I wouldn't be surprised that whether he comes back or not. JC says, really hoping Papley and McDonald don't come back this week. What's their expected return to play timeline? I'm sure there would be an injury list that would provide us some information there. Let me check anyways. I'll check Sydney Swans injury update. Let's see. Latest injury news. All right. Injury update round 5. Lewis Melican is completing team skills and will be a test to return to play in our main training session this week. So he's a key defender who they've sorely been missing. I mean, once Tom McCartan returned to the back line, they've really shored things up back there and they're playing some really good footy. Harry Cunningham has completed team skills and football conditioning, so he'll also be a test. He's just another really good role player for the side. Riak Andrew, brother of Mac, is 4 weeks. 4 weeks following his AC joint injury. He's aiming to commence running towards the end of the week. Expected to be out for another 8 to 10 weeks. Taylor Adams is set to be out for another 3 to 5, unfortunately. So unfortunate for him, but fortunate for us. He's nursing that hammy, and they're probably going to be really conservative considering his soft tissue injury. You just can't get a clean run at it, unfortunately. Tom Papley's heel pain came on slowly last week following training sessions over the bye round, and had imaging to confirm a stress fracture of his calcaneus. So he's still out for another 6 to 8 weeks, so we won't see Tom Papley, and I don't want to see that ugly head rearing itself on Friday. I'd rather not, or tomorrow. I'd rather not see that. See that man. He's still has a special place of trauma in my heart when he pushed Darcy Moore in the back. I mean, how do you outmark a 6'6" monster in Darcy Moore without pushing him in the back if you're bloody 4'5" like you are if you're Tom Papley? But anyways, the umpires clearly saw it differently on the night, and am I still salty about that time in 2022? Yes. Callum Mills is completing straight line running conditioning and building his speed and volume. He's recommenced change of direction drills and will look to increase recommencing rehab skills this week. He's still another 2 to 3 weeks away. Errol Goulden's surgical review was completed last week. His fracture is healing well, and he can now weight bear out of the foot and commence range of motion and strength training for his ankle joint. His surgeon has advised he'll be able to return to play around the mid-season bye, so obviously we're not going to see him. Robbie Fox is a TBC, and Jesse Detoli 6 to 8 weeks. So that is the injury update at the Sydney Swans. So they're going to be relatively depleted compared to us as well. Probably got, Mills is a dead set starter. Tom Papley is a dead set starter. Errol Gordon's a dead set starter. You'd say Harry Cunningham is right around the mark, and Lewis Melican's important to their back line and their team defense. So I'd say we're on around the mark when it comes to our injury list. We're probably right there with them. So no excuses on the injury front, even though we don't have Geordie DeGoey, we don't have Lockie Schultz, and Dan Houston. So I think it's level playing field, and you could make the case maybe Sydney have more injuries or more important, or a bulk of injuries that are more important to their side. You probably make the same argument for Collingwood. So that's where we're at with that. Let's check the chat. What are we saying? Brazzy said, I was watching Brazzy body language for the team today. He's not going anywhere. So were you at training, Manny? Pasindu says, a bold call, Nick to play some time in forward so James Jordan can't tag him. Yeah, I think that's a reasonable play. I think they're going to have many tricks up their sleeve with Nick Dacos. We've seen that in the past. So, and I remember vividly against North Melbourne, he went forward and changed the game in that fourth quarter for us. So Nick Dacos, he is the son of Peter Dacos, so he knows how to be a small forward if need be as well. So Nick Dacos will take James Jordan into the depths of where he wouldn't want to be and find him in uncomfortable positions, and will also run him into the ground. So I'm not stressed about Nick Dacos being tagged by James Jordan. Julian says, hoping Bo ups his pressure this week. It's a big game for Bo McCreary. I remember us having this conversation mid-year last year about Lockie Schultz. I think someone or a couple small forwards were missing. Maybe Jamie Elliot it was. And I remember saying Lockie Schultz needs to lift. He needs to raise his numbers for the upcoming game because of the shorthand we had in our small forward department. So I think it's the same expectation for Bo McCreary. There's no Lockie Schultz. Who's going to put their hand up? Who's going to put scoreboard pressure? Is it going to be Bobby Hill? Is it going to be Bo McCreary? Is it going to be Jamie Elliott? I think all these guys probably are a little bit down on form compared to where they used to. So I think one of them needs to lift and put a really good shift in. Let's go, champ. Surely Allen is not the sub again. Look, I'd rather it not be Ned Long. I think Ned Long would be extremely stiff, and we already saw yesterday in Fly's press conference that Ned Long will be starting. I can't see it being anybody else other than Ed Allen, to be honest. I saw them walking down. Say they're in your hometown, Manny. Bobby Hill needs to lift, says Tim Anderson. 100%. As we just said, one or two of them really got to have a really solid game to help us get over the line. They've got good small forwards who are performing really well as well, and the one that springs to my mind immediately is Will Hayward. He had like 3 or 4 goals against North. He just you couldn't fault him against North. Chad Warner's been playing a little bit forward, so I think that's going to throw a spanner in the works for us defensively. But we have the versatility. We've got Harry Perryman who can roll through there. We've got Isaac Quaynor who can do a job. So he's a score involvement machine. So definitely have to put some homework into the side. Freddie Jong says, hello, Andrew Schultz. Yes, that's me. Yes, mate. That is me. How you doing? You said you got money on the Pies to win by 3 goals to beat the Swans. Celebrate at the main course, West Melbourne. Well, if they win, mate, by 3 goals, can you take me with you to celebrate? Your shout. Okay? Grundy versus DC will be a huge watch as well. Yeah, Julian, hey, you know what? I thought Grundy was clear of Tristan Sherry last week. So Brodie Grundy does go in with some form. And obviously DC does as well. I think it's going to be a really competitive matchup. I'd like to see DC get over the top of him in the aerial contest. I think that's where Brodie Grundy struggles the most. Peter says rather Cox than Membry for this one. Hot night. Cameron needs a chop out. We'll see. I don't know if that happens, Peter, but yeah, we'll find out. We'll find out in 20 minutes, won't we? We are 17th for goals conversion. That needs to be improved, says Ashen. Well, the positive in that negative is we're getting a lot of shots on target. We're getting a lot of when we go inside 50, we're getting good looks. So it's just a matter of converting them. I don't know how much practice you can put into goal kicking in season that would buck the trend. I think it's a confidence thing, and if you miss your first couple, it sort of does fester. So hopefully we kick straight initially in the first quarter. We didn't do that against Carlton. We didn't do that in large periods against Footscray. You see what happens when we kick straight against Port Adelaide, and if you want to go further back to Richmond in the pre-season. Troy says Grundy has played okay. DC needs a hand. So you guys are pretty keen on seeing Mason Cox help out DC against Grundy. Interesting. Okay, we'll find out. We'll find out, won't we? Let's have a look at this this article regarding Jamie Elliott. So, Jamie Elliott on rare foot injury, retirement call and new leadership role. This was posted by John Ralph at 12 p.m. today. If Jamie Elliott had followed his gut feel last year, the AFL would have been denied another season from one of footy's great excitement machines. If he had declined the surgery that put multiple toes at risk, amid a complicated vascular concern in his foot, he would have never been where he is today. 14 years into a career with a Premiership and Mark of the Year title and so many freakish individual highlights, Elliot is officially a member of the Collingwood leadership group. The once brash young kid has officially grown up, as he told this masthead in a rare interview ahead of the gather-round clash against Sydney. "I'm growing as a person and a player, and at age 32, I think that's pretty good." I feel like we're seeing players continue to evolve in their early 30s when it comes to playing AFL. I think that's how you stay a recurring fixture in the squad. If you don't evolve and adapt to the game, what do they say? Adapt or die. And the good thing about Elliot is always had really good ground ball pressure, and his X factor is his ability to mark over the head. And the other X factor that is in his game, he's got the clutch gene. So that puts you in pretty good stead if you can apply pressure at ground level, which is massive in the modern era, and you can do those other things. At age 32, nothing should be slowing him down right now. So John Ralph continues, yet that voyage of self-discovery has only been possible after navigating a near impossible medical choice. Last year, Elliot battled an unusual vascular issue that saw multiple blood clots, preventing him getting enough blood supply to his toes. There was no easy remedy, as international experts admitted they had rarely seen the medical issue in a person so young. Not long removed from that 2023 season with the flag and that gather-round match winner with 3 minutes on the clock against Port Adelaide, he simply wasn't ready to retire. Yet for a time, he felt the choices presented to him by his surgeon gave him no choice. There were few options I had to consider, said Elliot, and a couple of them were pretty grim. One of them was retiring. One of them was having surgery where there was a chance I would lose a couple of toes if they got it wrong. When he said it, I was like, I will retire. I didn't want to go through with it. And then I sat on it for a week. I was thinking, I don't know, I love footy and there was a small chance it could happen. So I put it in the hands of the surgeon. Interesting. They went through my pubic area, put a tube down there, and it goes through your main arteries down your leg, and your body produces something which thins your blood naturally. This is a concentrated version, and they push it down there, and it basically dissolved the blood clot. Thank God for modern medicine, huh? The arteries are so small down there that if they stuff it up, it could block it. An incident which ended up costing Elliot 10 weeks of his season had initially started with some numbness in his foot and then progressively got worse. Eventually, surgery was the only option and allowed him to return for the last 7 games of the season. So he had a couple of blood clots toward the end of his toes, and towards the end of the foot, when he was doing more exercise, the blood was simply not getting to his toes. It got worse and worse. Foot became numb. It was going black, but it was actually going... Someone said it was going black, but it was actually going white because of the lack of blood flow. Grim. They spoke to specialists and tried to get clarity. Normally vascular issues happen in older people. I had something called a vascular necrosis in my second metatarsal joint in my second toe, and that wasn't pleasant. That required surgery, and the specialist said the same thing. There's no guarantee with this surgery that... they didn't say I was going to lose my toe or my foot, but they said there's a chance that you won't be able to, at that time, play soccer or footy or run. So that was quite scary. So I sort of can resonate with Billy in this situation. Some of the symptoms still linger. Some numbness in his foot if he's been wearing tight shoes, but he's very much over the worst. Having worked so hard to establish a career, he's not keen to let it go yet. Elliot was famously considered not fit enough to be draftable until the community banded together in Euroa to help him thrust his name forward. With father Jamie having passed away of cancer when Jamie was 13, mum Fiona worked 2 jobs to make ends meet, while local farmer and fitness coach Kevin McFarlane put him through an intensive program in a gym on his farm. Funny is his fitness has never been an issue in the AFL, especially his pressure. He plays his 200th game against Brisbane in the Easter Thursday clash as well, so that will be huge. Absolutely huge. But scary to see how close he was to actually not playing. And like I said, any necrotic tissue issues with your foot, it's not good. Let's see what else is saying. Just talking about the forward synergy between himself, Lockie Schultz, Bo, Brody, Membry, McStay. Talks on Lockie Schultz. We play similar positions. It's a bloody tough role. It goes forward and you might not see it. Media will come for guys that aren't performing well on the stat sheet, but within the four walls of Collingwood, we value other things than goals and touches. The last few weeks, he's got his rewards on the stat sheet, but the stuff we watch during a week might be vision of defensive pressure. It might not be a tackle, but he's in the right spot. It's a holistic thing, and it's a team view. Now, with that milestone coming into view, Elliot will again thrive on a big stage against Sydney with those gather around heroics against the power fresh in mind. Hey, we saw what Jamie Elliott was able to do in that gather around clash against Port Adelaide. Was it last year or the year before? That clutch goal without Lockie Schultz in the side this week, with Bobby Hill sort of out of form. Be nice to Jamie Elliott to lead the troops and really leave a dent in Adelaide and continue our good form as we have in Adelaide for the longest time. And I'm not too sure what our record is recently in Adelaide, but I know it's very good. I think we all know that, right? Let's have a look. Let's have a look at this Wheelo AFL match preview and see if there's anything to take away from now. I want to see what our record is like against Sydney. So in our last 10 matches between Sydney, we've won 4 and lost 6. We've actually lost 5 of our last 6 against Sydney. So we don't have, historically, in the last 10 games, we do not have a good record against them. Are we getting pumped in them? 5 goals, 4 goals, 1 point, 2022. We pumped them by 5 goals in 2023. We got pumped by them last year in round 1, the flag unveiling, and then they beat us by 3 points last year to pretty much put our finals hopes to an end. Wheelo has us predicted to win by 4 points. What else is interesting here? We possess the ball more than them, so it might look different with Dan Houston not in there. What else have we got in there? Our tackling pressure is elite. We're a top 4 side there. Sydney aren't quite there right now. Our goal accuracy is horrendous at 39% compared to Sydney's 48%. So we're not doing very well. And another stat we'd like to improve on this week is our goals per inside 50. So we're scoring a goal 1 in 5 every inside 50 entries. Sydney are much closer to 1 goal every 4 inside 50s. However, our scoring shots per inside 50, we've actually got a better return on that than Sydney, only slightly, 45%. They're 44.3%. So it's just a matter of getting those shots converted and turning them into 6 points, right? So that's what we're hoping for. Where else are we at? Let's go. Black Doc says, hi guys, would love to see Markov also. He was great prior to opening round. Excited to see Long have a full game and Will Hoskin-Elliott back in the side. Hopefully we do see what Will Hoskin-Elliott, he's performed well in his 2 games in the VFL, was stopped short in his tracks against GWS with that back spasm or whatever it might be. So there's all these players who come in. I don't mind who it is because I like them all. Harry Leonard says, Elliot has been good this year, especially considering he's coming off a big footy break. Expect him to be better this year. I think he'll work into it slowly. I'm not stressed about where Jamie Elliott is at the moment. His pressure's been good and he's still having some sort of impact in the game. I think Bobby Hill is more of a concern, but we'll see. We'll see how he goes tomorrow. Troy says, don't forget he's missed heaps of injuries, heaps of footy with injuries early in his career. He's still flying, great player. You can probably, it's sort of like another positive and negative. When you miss so much footy early in your career, you almost, it's ironic or contradictory in a way. It's got 2 ways of looking at it. But when you're injured in your formative years playing AFL, I feel like sometimes you're saving your body for later in the career. Yeah, he had back issues and whatnot, but as far as soft tissues are concerned and other impact injuries that you have to withstand on a week-to-week basis, he didn't have that because he wasn't on the field. So you can almost make the case sometimes being injured early in your career isn't the worst thing, because if you get your body right by the time you're 25, 26, 27, whatever age it is, your body's almost better for the long run sometimes. You can almost make that case. Darren says McStay can give DC a chop out and it might get him into the game a bit more as well. You know what? I really feel like last week, and we'll find out now, I feel like DC played a lot more ruck, a lot of time on ground compared to where he's been in the past. Let me just fact check that. I could be wrong. Let's see. Time on ground. Oh no, midfield time. Here we go. So DC spent 80% of his time in the ruck. Some other ruckmen are doing 85%. That's probably like the upper limit. I just don't. Yeah, I'm not sure if Mason Cox is going to come in and do that. What did McStay do? Where was he? 20% of his time on the field was spent in the ruck as well. So I think that's the split we're going to see, and that will be McStay's role, not Mason Cox's. Manny says, sign him up, couple more years. He takes the best small defender every week. Teams are always worried about him. Yeah, you definitely never want to underestimate the potential that Jamie Elliott has to break a game open. So, yeah, I'd give him another year. I would like to think there would be some conversations there. Is he out of contract this year? Let's find out. Jamie Elliott contract, footy wire. His contract is an unrestricted free agent at the end of this year. So I'd be talking about extending his contract to the end of next year. But then again, like much of the older players, if he wins a flag, would he want to go on? You could say, well, yeah, of course he will, because you've won 2 flags in the last 3 years. Wouldn't you want to create a dynasty and go one further? That's another case to be made if players are considering retirement. But just considering he opted for that surgery, he must be thinking he's got a few more years left in him. Otherwise, he could have simply just opted out of the surgery and just retired. So clearly, he wants to play on long beyond. I feel like he'd want to play beyond this year for sure. Chris Talbot, how you going? Manny says, there is a doco on Jamie Elliott. I should watch it. When did that come out? Evening, Stephanos, welcome. Harry Leonard says, we have the best win percentage in Adelaide. Troy says, just don't park the bus again like last year. I think we're trying to move away from parking the bus when we have a solid lead. Just keep being aggressive through the corridor. We saw that against Footscray. I think McStay and a couple other players bit off some really risky kicks into the corridor. Remember the one from Jeremy Howe to Steele Sidebottom that resulted in a conceded goal, which brought them right back into the game, late in the game. I'll live by that if it means we're not just going to park the bus, like you said. Who said that? Let's see. Troy. Rick says, probably first time playing Sydney with a taller forward line. It's true, we give them a different look. We're going to give all sides this year a different look because of the way we have set up our list at the moment. Rick. Now that's Rick. We've already read that. Lance. Pies will make the 8. It's all about injuries to go all the way. Yeah. I think right now we've got the makeup of a top 6 side. And if we beat Sydney, I'd be willing to deem us a top 4 prospective side for sure. Chris says, do you think Charlie West will make his debut for Collingwood this week? Josh Gabelick reported via Twitter/X that Charlie West is set to be named as an emergency. Peter says weather will drop to about 20 for the bounce. Anyone else can suffer over the weekend in 33 degree heat. Okay, that's good. Doesn't means we don't have to play in treacherous conditions, so that's good. Arlo says next 5 games will determine our season as it's a challenging set of games. I mean, we probably could have said that at the start of this year as well. I think we were saying the first 5-6 games are massive. You just really, if you want to be pragmatic about it, you just look at it in 5-game blocks. And while you're right, look, if we lose this game, it's going to be an uphill battle. the next few fixtures. I'd love to walk out of Adelaide going into Brisbane being 4-1, because then I'd cop being 4-2 after Brisbane. In saying that, Brisbane aren't playing amazing. They struggled against West Coast. They struggled against Richmond. They're not playing overly amazing, but of course they're going to rise to the occasions. It's their grand final. It's their home and away grand final. The Easter Thursday clash. The Gabba sells out. It's packed out. They're going to have a massive crack. Ashen says, I rate our backs against the Swans forward. The mids pressure will be important. The mids pressure is always important. I do remember that round 1 clash last year against Sydney. We just could not get the ball out of our defensive 50. We had a bunch of turnovers. We just coughed it up, and they took us took us for a ride, and they were very efficient with the turnovers. When you turn over the ball in your D50, like the amount of times we did against Sydney in that game, you're not going to win any AFL games. You have who else do you have? You have Sydney against North Melbourne last week. Perfect example. North Melbourne were just coughing it up for free in their back half, and Sydney punished them. Sydney were the number 1 turnover side last year. Against North Melbourne, they kicked 70 points from turnover. I'm not too sure how many were there. Those turnovers were forced in Sydney's forward half, but there was a lot watching the game. Adri says, what time are the teams announced? 3 minutes. So in 3 minutes, I'll share the screen and we can have a look at who's coming in. At the moment, we know it's Ed Allen certainly coming in. We know Lockie Sullivan is in, and we know Charlie West is going to be an emergency. We're just waiting to see who that other inclusion is. I think it's going to be Will Hoskin Elliott. What do you guys think in the chat? Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Hoskin Elliott? Is it going to be Markov? Is it going to be Jacob Ryan, TJ, Harry D. Mattia? Who's it going to be? Brisbane don't look great, says Julian. Joey D was a big loss for them. Joey Danaher. Yeah, certainly. Do you think Collingwood will tag Heaney or Warner this week? Well, I imagine like Ned Long will probably put some work into a Heaney if he's in the middle. Same with Chad Warner. I don't think it'll be a run with roll, but we'll find out. See, I'll double check Twitter to see if there's anything that's come out in the last couple of minutes. Otherwise, we'll find out the rest shortly. Let's see. Let me see. Anything here? Oh. Nothing. Okay, cool. So let's go back to the AFL app. Let's get this screen share ready. Mac screen capture has that. Is it that? So if we make this smaller, where's this? Application. I had it all sorted. All right. Got to do it again, guys. When do the Pies VFL play, says Steve? They have a bye this week. The whole VFL have a bye, all state leagues, because there's a state league clash between, say, VFL and the SANFL. All right, let's delete this. Delete that. Let's add it again. Screen capture. Okay. We'll go application, Safari, Dell. That should be it, really. That's why. Okay. Okay, that makes sense. I figured it out. Here. You'll see my ugly face in a second, guys. Bear with me. Promise you'll see me. Here we go. We'll put me here. And we'll go bang. Bang. All right. Let's cook. Get rid of, close that. That there. Bear with me, guys. I'm just getting my stuff right. Ramesh, how you going? Geordie hopefully should be back next week. Lockie Schultz a couple of weeks due to the hamstring, unfortunately. News. Fixture. Can't hear you. Can you hear me, guys? Can you hear me? Let me just ask. Can you guys hear me? Just make sure. Can you guys hear me? Hello, hello, hello. Yep. Okay, cool. Just making sure. Oh, you're saying am I not loud enough for you, Info? I remember you said that yesterday. I already upped the decibels. Okay. No surprises there. Lockie Sullivan in. Ed Allen in. Will Hoskin Elliot in. Out. Houston suspension. DeGoey ankle/Achilles. And then Lockie Schultz as well out with the hamstring, unfortunately. Anything interesting to note here? Not really. I mean, Harry Perriman's in the halfback flank there. Lipinski, side bottom crisp. Hill, Mychek, Sullivan, McCreary, McStay, Membry. DC, Ned Long. There you go. Ned Long, the starter. Nick Dacos in there as well. Quaynor, Elliot, Pendlebury, Ed Allen, Hoskin Elliot. Look, guys, I genuinely think Ed Allen's going to be the sub. I don't think there's any other way around it. Charlie West, emergency. Oleg Markov. Like we said, we thought Markov was close, but just not close enough. I think it's fair to say Hoskin Elliott was just ahead of him. And Mason Cox as well, listed as an emergency. No ins or outs for Sydney, so they go in unchanged. So no Melican. So Hamling, who's been doing the job for them, is still on the side. Riley Bice has been the talk of the town in the AFL world recently. Chad Warner's listed as a midfielder, but he did play a lot of forward time against North Melbourne. Yeah. Joel Amarty's been relatively good. Tom McCartan is listed as a forward. However, he played in the back line, so I don't think that's just a bit of a smokescreen, isn't it? McLean's been good. Hayward's been amazing. James Jordan will likely tag old mate Nick Dacos. Who are the emergencies? Ben Patton. Aaron Francis killed us in the VFL in that first round, so he's deserving of being at least in emergencies. Black Dog says, how does Sully go as a half forward? Has he played this role before? Seems decent with his pressure and roving skills. Yeah, he's played a lot of small forward time in the AFL as well. He comes in as a midfielder, but most of his time is actually spent as a forward. I would say between the bench and being on the field, I think it'd be a pretty even split between midfield, bench, and forwards, like 33, 33, right? So he's been there before. I've seen it in the VFL when he plays in the forward line. He actually does pretty well to kick some goals and put scoreboard pressure. But we want him there to try and apply pressure. And I don't think I'll be looking at Sullivan's stats so much on the weekend. I think I'll be looking at what he does at face value. 1 or 2 emergencies might get a run in Brisbane, said Troy. Ed Allen should be the sub this week, says Chris. I think so. What else? Yeah, Sully will play pressure forward button. Ramish. He will. Anything else? Umpire's not confirmed. What if we refresh that? Hopefully it's not Matthew Nichols. If you know, you know. Umpire's not confirmed. But yeah, 7:40 start tomorrow. Can't wait. Will Hoskin Elliott would be a better sub. He can play anywhere on the ground, more versatile, and can give some run. I can completely see that judgment there, Luke. Will Hoskin Elliott is a jack of all trades. You could probably make an argument that Ed Allen can play forward and mid and wing. So I think Ed Allen's also versatile. Probably not as much as Will Hoskin Elliott. But yeah, if I had to bet on it, I'd probably say Ed Allen will be the sub. Rick says, everyone sleeps on Braden Campbell. He is their best kick and sets up a lot of play and score involvements. Needs to put some time into him. I'm pretty sure that I actually want to see their midfield split. He's been playing quite a bit of midfield. Braden Campbell. Let me see. Let me just make sure that's correct. So he played any midfield? He played 3% midfield time against North Melbourne, but he only had 15 touches, but all of them seemed like they were damaging. 6 score involvements, like that's a pretty good return, a goal assist and a goal. What are his meters gained? Is there a stat there here? meters gained, 263 from 15 touches is not too shabby. So he's someone to watch out for. He's definitely along with Riley Bice. Their players are going to be danger players who cannot fall under our radar. What about Chad Warner? What was his midfield time like? So Chad Warner only played 33% midfield time. So I wonder if we're going to see that sort of split for Chad Warner tomorrow. I suppose we'll find out, right? So we shall see. We shall see. When do we think Charlie West will get a game? I think someone will have to... I think we would have to have a couple injuries, or if someone's out of form. I don't think he's too far away, but we know how what Fly's mantra is. He won't rush young players in just because of the sake of it, and because it will intrigue the fans and the general AFL world. I think he'll go for the best available player, and that's why you see players like Will Hoskin Elliot, Lockie Sullivan, Oleg Markov. They're always in the conversation. Spaniard asked, does Nick start halfback? I reckon that would screw around with their tagging at the start of the game. I'm sure Sydney are prepared for, or are mindful that Nick Dacos, and know that Nick Dacos can play anywhere on the field. So you prepare for that. I don't think it will matter in the end of the day. Do I think Mason Cox will play again for Collingwood this year? 100%. 100%. Still a strong team despite our outs. We have great depth, says Black Docs. 100%. Once again. You guys say a lot of the right things. I don't tend to disagree too frequently. So that's good, isn't it? I think massive opportunity for Lockie Sullivan. How well does he have to perform to stay in the side? Well, he has every chance. He's got a chance to really solidify his position for the next few weeks. I think he'll get at least the next 2 weeks to prove himself. But then there's other players. Who are other players waiting in the ranks in the forward line that would like an opportunity? Will Hayes is probably a little far away. You know, he's shown some amazing signs, of course, but once again, he's young and still has a bit to prove at VFL level. I would say, outside of Lockie Sullivan, guys, help me out. Who's there? Who's there that can play? Like, Charlie West is 6'4". He's not a pressure forward. So you'd have to move the magnets, right? You definitely have to move the magnets. Finlay McRae is someone who could play a pressure forward role as well. Yeah. We need to stop Blakey's run out of the back line. Is amazing, isn't he, Chris? Yeah, we need to play Finn McRae a game soon. He was good in the VFL. So he started well, kicked 2 goals, had 20-odd touches. He's someone who can play that high half-forward role as well if need be. So I think we'll see some sort of Finlay McRae at some point this year. This is really, for now, this is Lockie Sullivan's position to keep. I don't think anyone in our starting side and our VFL outside of Will Hayes is really there to take that position. You know, we don't have Joe Richards anymore. We obviously don't have Jack Ginnivan if you want to go further back. It's like we have a really good small forward department, but it doesn't run extremely deep once you get to the VFL. Remember when McRae played Markov forward? That was a sight to behold, wasn't it, Peter? That was definitely an interesting one. To take that. Anyways, guys, thanks for sticking around. Leave a like. If you haven't subscribed to the channel and you're watching these streams, please consider subscribing. We are trying to get to 5,000. I'll put a number on it. 5,000 by the end of the year or the end of the season. Yeah, it means it goes a long way if you can contribute with a like or a subscribe. And thank you for